I'm not sure if you're able to conceptualize this, but say I heard from somebody that Bloomingdale had the best ice cream in New York City. And then I felt this level of excitement within me that, you know what, I really want to try that ice cream. She made it sound amazing. So then I get in the car, I go to Bloomingdale, but then I see there is a huge line to get that ice cream. And then I say to myself, I can't do this. I'm not going to wait in that line. And so there's different stages of motivation that we might have that might be driven, say, by excitement. And that excitement might dissipate the moment we see any amount of pain or effort or exertion that we have in order to achieve that goal. Is there any way that we can influence our perception of how close we might feel towards a goal in order to help sustain the motivation of kind of waiting it out?
Yes. So let's put this into the context of exercise rather than where the best ice cream is. Is it really
Mhm.
Bloomingdale's or is it Morgenstern's or is it Van Leeuwen? There's lots of options in New York. I invite you to come visit and try them all out and decide for yourself which one is worth standing in line for because people stand in line for all of them. I had a chance to work with Olympic runners, some of the fastest, they happen to be men in the world. That some of these guys had won gold medals in the 400 sprint. One of them was the fastest guy out of Trinidad, and like incredible people, super humble and amazing athletes. Now, I went into this opportunity thinking like there's got to be something like really incredible about what their eyes are doing. They have like a super sense of sight, and it's quite different, I'm sure, than how my eyes work. That was sort of my guiding thought as I went into this experience, and chatting with them and having them do some of our surveys. I went in thinking, they probably are like, like owls that they can see all around them. They constantly know, like, where's their finish line? Where's the competition relative to where they are in space? Like, as if they have eyes on the back of their head. These superpowers of perception, they can keep that map of everybody and everything that's in their environment. So we surveyed them and asked about their perceptual experiences, and I couldn't have been more wrong. They told me that's not at all what they do when they're competing at their best. And what works best is to have more of a narrowed focus of attention, as if there's blinders on them and they're just focused on what their goal is. It could be the finish line, it could be the next bend in the track up ahead, but they choose these points and focus just on those points. Once they hit it, they set the next like micro goal and are really like lasered in, honed in, narrowly focused on that particular spot and paying attention at all to the people that are around them. And that resonates with other people that I didn't have the chance to talk with at all. Joan Benoit Samuelson, one of the fastest female runners to ever compete in marathons, said the same thing. I choose a person with, pink shorts up ahead of me, and I focus on those pink shorts until I pass the pink shorts, and then I set the next goal. Right. So it's not just a guy thing. This is something that resonates with some of the best female athletes as well. And so because that was totally different than what I thought would be the case, I wondered, like, is this something I can teach other people who might also not know this? Totally. Because as I was describing this, I'm sure you could imagine what that experience would be like. It's not really hard instructions to give. They're not really hard instructions to follow. But what was amazing is that when we taught this to people who were not Olympic level runners, what we found was that we induced a visual illusion by telling them to imagine a spotlight is shining just on this finish line, narrow your focus of attention, don't pay attention to what's in your periphery. The visual illusion that they experienced was that that finish line literally looked closer to them. Depending on how we measured it, it appeared 20 to 30% closer than those people who looked around the world as they naturally would. Naturally being something more like I was describing before, what I thought the runners would do. Pay attention to what's on the periphery, look all around you, being aware of what's in the surroundings. That's natural. That narrowed focus of attention, though, induced this illusion of proximity. It looks like I'm closer to the end. That Bloomingdale's frozen yogurt line doesn't look as far or as long as it does now. Um, and then inducing that visual illusion of proximity had a whole cascading effect on their motivation and their performance. Now, when we ask them, do you think you're going to be able to make it to that end state? They said, yes. I have a greater sense of self-efficacy. The task is not as difficult, it's not as challenging. I believe I have the resources that it's going to take to do this really well, to get there quickly. Those are all different indicators of motivation. Their motivation on all these different markers increased. Now, what happens when they have more motivation? that was tied to that visual illusion, which was tied to that narrowed attention instructions. They moved faster. They moved 23% faster. When we timed them, how quickly could they do this exercise and make it to the finish line? Even though it's exactly the same distance and exactly the same level of difficulty, the people who had that narrowed focus of attention, the illusion of proximity, and the motivational burst were able to get there faster. When we teach people this and then let them out into the wild and then just look at their fitness tracking apps, what did they do? Even in the days that followed, when we're not there to be, reminding them or encouraging them or teaching them or measuring them ourselves, they go out for more runs and more walks. They take about 85% more steps in each of those walks. They're moving faster and more efficiently, which is a better form of exercise because increasing intensity is a really important component of fitness and we should be working towards.